Hey everyone, welcome back to Eat Every Slice.
Oh, I love that intro.
We try to keep it fresh. And today we're diving deep into a real classic.
Ooh, I love the classics.
Me too. Sometimes you just want something simple, but delicious.
Absolutely. Those are often the best kinds of food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the crostada really fits that bill. Like, those rustic Italian tarts?
Oh, yeah. The ones with the gorgeous fruit filling.
Exactly. And the crust. The crust is key.
It really is. The name itself, crostada, comes from the Italian word for crust.
That's so interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it shows you just how important the crust is to this whole thing.
So no pressure on getting that crust right.
None at all. But luckily, our sources today give us all the tips and tricks.
Perfect. Because I'm already feeling inspired to bake one.
Me too. And you know what's so cool about crostada?
What's that?
It's not just some new trendy dessert. It's got history. It's been passed down for generations.
Oh, wow. So it's like a real taste of Italian heritage.
Exactly. And speaking of taste, let's talk about that crust.
Yes, please. I'm all ears.
So one of our sources suggests using both all-purpose flour and cornmeal.
Cornmeal. Huh. That's interesting. I've never used that on a tart crust before.
Right. It's not super common, but it adds this amazing texture.
Like a little crunch.
Yeah, exactly. Like a little bit of a surprise in every bite.
Ooh, I love that. And thinking about the process, our source really emphasizes not overworking the dough.
So important. That's baking 101 right there.
It is. But, sometimes it's easy to get carried away.
Totally. Especially when you're trying to get everything perfectly smooth.
Exactly. But with crostada, it seems like a little rustic charm is a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. It's all part of its character.
And then there's the chilling time.
Yes. At least 30 minutes in the fridge.
That seems so hard when you just want to bake.
I know. It's like the waiting's the hardest part.
It really is. But it sounds like that chilling time is crucial for the texture.
It is. It lets the gluten relax, so you end up with a nice flaky crust.
Science. So it's not just about being patient.
Nope. It's all about the gluten.
Makes sense. So we've got our dough chilling in the fridge. We're feeling good. Now what?
Now comes the fun part. The filling.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
The possibilities.
Endless. Seriously. You can go sweet. You can go savory.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's like a choose-your-own-adventure dessert.
Exactly. And our source really gets excited about that creative freedom.
I can imagine. Like, what would you put in a crostada?
Ooh. That's a tough one. There are so many options, but I'm a sucker for the classics.
Like what?
Like a beautiful berry filling, with fresh seasonal berries.
Oh, yeah. That sounds amazing, especially in the summer.
Right. Or in the fall, you could do something cozy with apples and cinnamon.
Ugh, stop. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it.
Me too. It's making me want to run to the kitchen and start baking.
Same. Okay, but before we do that,
Yeah.
we need to talk about the actual baking process.
Right, of course. So once we've filled our beautiful crust, we crank up the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay, got it. And then how long do we bake it for?
Well, our source says about 30 to 35 minutes, but, ovens can vary.
Right, so it's not an exact science.
Exactly. You really have to use your senses.
Like, what kind of sign should we look for?
Well, you want to see that beautiful golden brown crust.
No, of course. Makes sense.
And you also want to look for those little bubbles in the filling.
The bubbles. That means it's cooked through.
Exactly. It's like a little visual cue that everything is ready to go.
And I bet your kitchen smells amazing at that point.
Oh, absolutely. That's always a good sign.
It's like the crostada is calling out to you, saying, I'm ready.
It is. And you know what else is ready?
What's that?
Part 2 of our deep dive.
Oh, right, of course. Because we've covered so much already.
We have. We've talked about the history, the
Yeah.
crust, the filling.
But there's still so much more to explore.
There is. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more crostada goodness. Okay, so we're back. And you know what I was thinking about during the break?
What's that?
It's like crostada. It's more than just a dessert.
Ooh, I like where you're going with
It's
that.
like an experience.
Right,
Yeah.
really. It's like the whole process of making it.
Yeah, from start to finish. It's so satisfying.
I agree. Like, even just the feel of the dough.
Oh my gosh, yes. That cold butter working into the flour.
It's like therapeutic almost.
It is. And then the anticipation of that first bite.
Ugh, the best. And it connects us to that Italian heritage we talked about.
Exactly. Like, imagine families generations ago making these tarts together.
Yeah, using whatever fruit was in season.
Exactly. So simple, but so meaningful.
And our source really emphasizes that sharing aspect.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about eating it by yourself.
It's about sharing it with loved ones.
Exactly, making memories around the table.
And it makes me think about all the different filling possibilities.
Oh, yeah. We kind of touched on it before.
But I'm curious, have you ever tried any really unique crostada fillings?
You know, I have. I actually made one recently with butternut squash.
Butternut squash.
That sounds interesting.
I roasted it with some caramelized onions and crumbled goat cheese.
Wow, that's a combo I never would have thought of.
It was so good. Sweet and savory and tangy all at the same time. I love that. So it's like you can really get creative with the fillings.
Oh, for sure. Don't be afraid to experiment.
That's good advice. Because sometimes I get stuck in a rut.
I know what you mean. Like, you always go back to the same old recipes.
Exactly. But with crostada, it's like a blank canvas.
It is. You can really make it your own.
Now, speaking of the recipe, our source provides a pretty straightforward method for the dough.
Yeah, seems pretty easy to follow.
But I know some people can be intimidated by pastry.
I get that. But honestly, it's more forgiving than you think.
That's good to hear. Because I've definitely had my fair share of pastry disasters.
Oh, me too. But that's part of the fun, right?
Yeah, it's all about learning and experimenting.
And, you know, even if it doesn't look perfect.
It'll probably still taste amazing.
Exactly. And that's what matters most.
Plus, crostada is supposed to be rustic.
Right. It's all about those imperfections.
I love that. It's like a reminder that things don't have to be perfect.
Exactly. And that's a good lesson for life in general.
So true.
Oh.
So we've talked about the dough, the filling, the baking process.
And the importance of sharing.
What else is there to say about crostada?
Well, I think we need to talk about the modern twist.
Yeah.
Like, how can we take this classic dessert and give it a little modern flair?
Exactly. And I think the filling is a great place to start.
Oh, for sure. Like, we've talked about all the traditional fillings.
But what about something a little more unexpected?
Right. Like maybe drawing inspiration from other cuisines.
Ooh, I like that. Like, what would you do?
Well, I've always been intrigued by Asian flavors.
Me too. Like maybe a
Well,
crostada with a ginger-infused crust?
Oh, yeah. And a filling with mango and coconut.
Ooh, stop. That sounds incredible.
Right? Or we could go the Latin route.
Ooh, like with a hint of chili in the crust.
Get a dulce de leche filling.
Oh my gosh. My mouth is watering just thinking about it.
See, it's like the possibilities are endless.
They really are. And it's not just about the flavors.
Right. You can also get creative with the presentation.
Oh yeah. Like what kind of things?
Well, instead of doing one big crostada.
You can make a bunch of mini ones.
Exactly. Each with a different filling and decoration.
Ooh, that's a great idea. Like a little crostada party.
It would be so fun. And you could really impress your guests.
For sure. So we've talked about the history, the technique, the creative possibilities.
I think we've covered it all.
We have. We've really gone deep on crostada.
And hopefully our listeners are feeling inspired.
To bake their own, of course.
And if they need some guidance,
We've got them covered.
head over to www.eateveryslice.com.
You'll find the full recipe, step-by-step photos, and even more crostada inspiration.
We've got it all, so go forth and bake.
And don't forget to share your creations with us on social media.
We love to see what you all come up with.
So until next time, happy baking, everyone.
And happy eating.